Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Around the World Today, Series 3, Episode 17, I think. It could be 18. I'll let you know about this during the show. So yes, hasn't it been an interesting couple of weeks? Now, we're going to talk about a topic that I found myself talking about with a friend the other day. Now, we were joking about, have you ever done it? You know, if you were in charge of the country, or if you were running things, who you would put in jail. In this context, we were talking about my migration and how the prison system would work. But quite conveniently, what I didn't know at the time is that it was a joke between me and him, but it actually got my friend and me talking and thinking about prisons. Now, my friend is a teacher. I've never known him as a teacher, but I would say he's probably a very good teacher. However, we were talking about this, and isn't it funny that prisons in the United Kingdom are not doing what they set out to do? It is not only to punish the criminal. The criminal goes to jail as punishment. You don't go to jail to be punished. You go to jail as punishment. Now, when you're there, right, just chucking you in a room for 23 hours a day isn't really a suitable punishment, if you ask me, because it's not really working with you to come up with how you ended there, why you're there, what led you to make these mistakes to put you in a prison. Now, in the United Kingdom, what I quite find baffling is that in a report that I had been sent, and I was reading from 2017 by Stephen Moss in The Guardian, that half of Britain's prisoners are functionally illiterate. How? How can that change when the government are not looking at education? I believe education is key to everything that we do, and to say that half of our prisoners in our prisons are illiterate, so they can't read, they can't write. It's quite bad, if you ask me, that we've got to this way. And I'll give you some more figures. And me and my friend were talking about this from his point of view, and I just said a sarky comment at the end, and I just said, well, you are already doing the job because you're a teacher. And when you think about it, that comment is right. There are people out there that the education system has failed, that coast themselves into trouble because of a lack of bad education, a lack of funding, a lack of good teachers, a lack of actually wanting to be there. But you coast just where you're into trouble. Now, in the context that we were talking about my migration, but not only my migration, how we would change prisons. So I suggested putting a particular politician in jail, and I came up with a punishment plan as I saw fit. Now, as I said to my friend, we would... That's laughable. We would... or the way I would do it is basically a prisoner is sent to prison. In the first 2-3 weeks, the prisoner, 4 weeks, a month, maybe a year, depending on how long the sentence is, the prisoner is on a basic regime. The prisoner is working around the prison. He is cleaning. He is, the basic. Even if it's a non-violent crime, you can have them on a farm working. Now, when you come to level 2, in this bit, it's about re-education, working with the prisoner to see where the prisoner's gone wrong. After the basic part, the prisoner would have been assessed by psychologists, education people, not only work, but there would be testing. By the time you come to level 2, a tailor-made plan would be made for the prisoner to address the problems that led them there, any problems at home, problems in the prison itself, education, psychology, all the help that they need. And when you come to level 3, the prisoner should be given trust, in my opinion. So not living in a locked up community, but given trust to get ready to enter back into society. So we should be working with the prisoner, to put those things there, to recognise the triggers that are going to set them back into a life of crime. Yes, I do know that some of you are probably at this point saying, well, that's not going to work, is it? Because, there are people out there who just want to commit crime. Well, yes, there is. Now, if I said to you that, let me just get you some figures. If I said to you 24% of prisoners have been in the care system, 42% of adult prisoners have been permanently excluded from school in the past, or even nearly 1/3 of prisoners have self-identified as having a learning disability or disability, or even that 46% of prisoners are at primary school level of English and maths, and nearly 65%, so that's nearly 2/3 of women, and 42%, 2/3 of men, reported that they have mental health issues in our prison system. I can go even worse. 31% of them, almost 1/3 of female offenders, have spent time in care as a child. Do you know what I mean? Mental health, 5% of women in prisons are 6 times more likely to have mental health conditions as them without. Or even domestic abuse, 8 out of 10 have taken illegal illegal drugs. 6 out of 10 have used Class A drugs in a 4 weeks before their custody. 5 out of 10 were reported committing offences to support someone else's drug use. 49% of women had a drug problem on arrival in a prison. Suicide, among them is at 40% higher than the general population. The impact on families, 6 out of 10 have dependent children. 2 out of 10 are lone parents before imprisonment. 84% are serving a sentence for non-violent crime. And sexual health, women have a higher rates than men of HIV, hepatitis C, and STIs such as chlamydia and infection of gonorrhea and syphilis in prisons. So our prison system is not only letting guys down, it's letting women down, it's letting everyone down. Let me ask you a question. Are people really born evil? Now, many of you know that I'm contemplating, reflecting prayer of a life of order, a life of serving God. So my answer is no one is born evil. No one is evil. However, the choices they take lead them down a path that is evil. They are not evil. No person is evil, so why do we treat them that they are evil? At the end of the day, I'm going to play you a little video from a prison in Norway. And this is going to play after the advert that we are just skipping. Here we go. And this will also be in the blog for you to watch the video, but here's a thing.
There's a no shoes policy.
No shoes policy. So I have to put on some slippers because we like to keep it clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you show me around?
Yeah, of course.
What do you like about this house?
I love my grill.
It felt like we were visiting somebody's house for the first time, and they were excited to show us around. So this is your room?
This is my room.
Wow. It's big.
Yeah.
Got your TV.
TV, DVD,
Yeah.
computer, closet, clothes. I have my own sheets, everything, you know.
How's the bed?
Yeah,
Comfortable?
but the bed is comfortable. Sit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a college dorm.
Except it's not. This is a minimum security prison in Norway called Bolstøy, where Dardan is serving a 1-year sentence for drug trafficking.
I have my washing machine, my dryer, and I have my shower. Brand new. Boom.
So these are heated floors.
These are heated floors.
You don't see that at most prisons.
I know.
How do you think Americans will react when they see this prison?
They're going to think we're crazy here in Norway.
Why?
You guys have another view on prison. You're like really punishing these people. It's like they're animals.
North Dakota has been implementing some of Norway's principles, which boasts one of the lowest recidivism rates in the world, while the United States has one of the highest rates of people cycling in and out of prison. In Norway, prisoners have keys to their own bedrooms, fully furnished living rooms and kitchens, with sharp knives to cook with. There's 5-star cooking classes, painting, and they even have a fully equipped recording studio. Do you feel like this is prison?
Your freedom is taken from you, you know, you cannot go to the store, you cannot see your children when you want. Of course, I'm still in prison.
We want them to have a normal life. We punish them by taking away their freedom, but we don't take away their life.
In Norway, there's no such thing as a lifetime sentence, so they believe prison should look and feel like everyday life.
The prison system isn't there to inflict pain and be punitive, but is to actually try to get that person to be a better citizen.
Prison needs to be an uncomfortable situation. Inmates are in prison as a punishment.
Sam Mitchum worked as a corrections officer for years, most recently at North Dakota's maximum security prison. He says adapting Norway principles to U.S. prisons won't work.
Their country is not that big. They don't have the predatory instincts like the criminals here do. They don't have the gang problems. They don't have the drug problems.
Norway has murderers, they have criminals, drug dealers, but you don't think it can work here?
I don't. I think the way that they were brought up, their way of thinking is not the way the criminal element here thinks.
It's too soon to tell if the Norway changes are working to bring down North Dakota's recidivism rate. The new data won't be available until 2020 or later.
I should say that was made in 2018. And it is quite interesting, isn't it, that the British model is like, yeah, British model is in between the American model and the Norway model. You've got the American model is lock them up, they are evil, lock them up, they are evil. You've got the British model that is lock them up, lock them up. You've got the Norway model, lock them up, re-educate them, don't take away their liberty, but take away their freedom. You know, don't take away who they are, but take away their freedom, help them, you know, re-educate. Yeah, that guy's room did look like a dorm room in the video, and you will see this. Now, back to mine and my friend's discussion. Okay, so now, why in the United Kingdom or even everywhere around the world, when people judge a criminal, they are a criminal? Now, I've seen people want to denounce families of criminals just because they can. may I remind you, like I said to you before I played the video, a person isn't born evil. A person's family isn't evil. A person's family shouldn't be held responsible for a loved one's crimes. A person's family did not make that choice that day. That person did. I'm not talking about, allowing criminals to walk the streets. I believe if you commit a crime, you should be punished for it. However, the punishment needs reform. So just locking people in a jail for a jail cell for 23 hours a day does not help the person. Mental health is impaired. We have more suicides. Why do you think a lot of prisons have riots when you start to release the structure? So what should happen is a nice structured approach, with psychologists, educationers, prison officers, all working together to come up with a plan for this person. And this is a clear system. Now, for violent criminals, a same kind of plan can work just on 1 and 2. So when they, level 3 would be years away. Now, you could work this into a level 4 situation, do you know what I mean? And have different, custodial offences. Different kind of prisons too will help you work these things out. Now, also tailoring the prison programme to the individual prisoner rather than actually a one-size-fits-all problem that we have right now may actually help, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because that prisoner seems to feel then that the system is engaged with him or her. The system is going to help him or her rehabilitate their lives, rethink their lives. And then once they've finished level 2, if you're a non-violent criminal, and you're going to level 3, at this point, you should be able to be trusted. The prison officers and the psychologists will all be around because you're not leaving the prison. You go into a communal area where there's trust, where you have a job that you've got to get to, where, do you know what I mean? All of the life skills, but within the prison community. It's the moment you muck up in that level is the moment you go back to the beginning because the system has failed and we have to start again. Do you know what I mean? It's about re-education. Where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? But I feel that just wanting to lock a prisoner up as a punishment, to even want to bring back the death penalty in some cases is a little bit archaic, especially for the 21st century. I should say that it is quite bad that in 2020 we have people who wish to actually execute other people just because they have committed a crime. I wonder how they would feel if they committed the same crime.
Click, listen, enjoy.
So like I said, I wonder how they would feel if they had committed the same crime. Would they still want to bring back the death penalty? Would they? Do you know what I mean? It seems that every government there has been either likes to throw money at the problem or take away money at the problem. No one actually wants to sort the problem out. Meanwhile, my friend is now thinking of a new career choice because, he's a teacher. And the problem you've got is he now feels, after our discussion, not only after that, but before this whole event, that he made a very bad choice. People have become so institutionalised in education, so used to these kind of things. the institution itself. They then coast and then go through to the prison because they've had a bad education, bad life choices, committed a crime, gone through our court system, our courts have found them guilty, and now have ended up in prison. Once they've gone into the prison system once, 9 times out of 10, they are going to keep going through that system like a revolving door. Now, what you've got to do within that system is a cold, hard shock. We hear our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and quite conveniently, he was the politician that me and my friend were talking about. We hear him talking about COVID-19 and a short, sharp shock in the R rate. That's what our prisoners need. Okay, so I'm going to give you an analogy. If we treat crime and people re-offending into crime as, shall we say, a supply chain. So you getting your Coca-Cola from Coca-Cola, or your Pepsi, or even your apple juice from the Sainsbury's. Now, okay, and other drinks or items are available. Okay, so if I take away from the Coca-Cola the plastic bottles, so in their supply chain, I take away the plastic bottles. Now, I can't get Coca-Cola anymore because Coca-Cola can't distribute it to me. Because, you know, unless they're going to just put in post-mix dispensers everywhere and make it harder for me to buy my 2-litre bottle of Coke and to take it home. Do you know what I mean? So if you remove one part of the chain falls apart. Now my point of view is, we put the prisoner in the prison. We remove them from everything. So the only people they'll see on Basic 1 is every prisoner who has been brought into prison with them that day. They will move through the system as a group. The group will not have contact with any other prisoner outside of that group. So they will keep moving through the system. Once they get to level 2, education will take place. But again, the group will have a tailor-made education system, yes, and like school, will have to go to classes with other groups. But living together in one group. Then, by the time we get to level 3, the group will be split up to form up relationships and friendships that help each other, like normal relationships. There's also a rule. If one person in the group is caught breaking the rules, the whole group gets punished. If one person in a dorm is caught breaking the rules, the whole group get punished. Now, violence. Now, I've just said one of the rules, violence with other prisoners. If any prisoner is harmed in any way, the whole group gets punished. As you can see, this mentality will, also work out that you are a team. So, if one falls, you're all falling on Basic 1. I believe the military do this. Now, I've looked at the military model of induction to the military and the military model of prisons, and I feel that this would work, minus the killing of people. So instead of the killing of people in Section 2, you put something such as education, such as psychology, these things work, ready for when you have level 3. Level 3 in the military normally is graduation. Level 3 with us will be some trust, not graduation. And continuous of training, of course. This would be more about getting the person ready for re-entering society and re-entering the world so they do not go out wishing to commit crime. This means that you help them with a work, so maintaining a work schedule, maintaining getting to work themselves, education, living on a budget, because they would have to do their own food shopping, cooking, cleaning, everything, from in the prison itself, because you can have this kind of community, a community within the prison walls that isn't a part of the punishment, the prison that you're originally sent to. So you move through the system as well and the prison. You're not staying still. And it will feel like this, and the rewards will be there. The more you are coming ready to release, the more of your life comes back, basically, just without crime. So I believe that if we break the supply of crime, or the thought process of a crime, then we're able to build the person up. That means rooting out our prisons of crime, corruption of officers, and all of this, and keeping it out. That means getting tougher on the prisoners in stage 1, getting tougher on visits in stage 1. Now, the system, like I said, is a tad broken. Okay, not a tad broken, a lot broken when you're seeing the statistics that we've read out. Okay, so my friend put this, it made me think about this afternoon. Lots of people in prison have made mistakes, and a lot have massive awareness of this, not excluding the impact of their crimes, but how easily it is for most people to end up in a place like this, save for one or two things here and there. Are you really evil? Are you, or are there any examples of people that have fallen through the cracks and have been failed by society and the system? Part of my thinking to change careers. So the system has failed. The system failed when these kids left school not being able to read. Like I said to you, 50% of our prisoners can't read, write, or even spell their name. So the system failed. And when I say the system, not just the prison system, the system in general has failed these people.
Click, listen, enjoy.
Has failed these people, 24% of prisoners have been in care. 42% of adult prisoners have been permanently excluded from school. Nearly 1/3 of prisoners have self-identified as having a learning disability or another disability. 46% of prisoners, can only read to primary school education. The system fails everyone by the look of it. If you are from a low income, middle class background, because like I just said, 46% of people who are leaving our primary schools can't read past that level. What was the point of their comprehensive education or their grammar school education? This is in our prisons. It just seems that the prisons scoop up the people who fail at school. It's astonishing that you see these kind of people as well. And I know what I'm about to say sounds a bit wrong, but these are the kind of people who were in Pembroke protesting. These are the kind of people who the far right prey upon, use their predatory behaviour against. These people are that far failed by the system, they'll take any kind of hope that the system is going to change. Meanwhile, it's the system that's letting them down. We can tell that to the 65 people I fed on Wednesday. Or should we tell it to the 67 people last week, or the 70 people the week before, or the 60-odd the week before that, or the 50-odd before that? Should we tell the people that the system has failed you? Because we all know the system has failed, and we all know that people who are living on the streets are probably in these statistics too. No, there's no probably about it, are in these statistics. We all know that the people that are living on the streets have probably gone to prison. We know that this isn't by them being born evil. We know that they've made life choices. But should we judge them as evil because of the bad choices they've made? Hell no, we should not. These people deserve our compassion. They also deserve a system that works for them, a system that rehabilitates them from their crime, and a system that actually provided them with an education, not a system that is falling apart around them, not a system that let them down when they were going through education. We should be picking up these gaps when they're in the prison system. We should be re-educating them. A life away from crime. Not locking them up with other criminals. Or big groups of criminals planning their next job. And dreaming about that next job. Then committing a crime and wanting to go back. And not wanting, but going back to jail. How about the prisoner who leaves prison on a Monday morning and by Friday is back in the prison because he isn't able to cope outside? You know, those statistics again. 24% of prisoners have been in the care system. 42% of prisoners who are an adult were permanently excluded from school. Nearly 1/3 of prisoners have self-identified as having a learning difficulty and or disability. 46% of prisoners can only read to primary school, year 6, 10 years old, 11 years old level. Is there no wonder why our prisons are falling apart and we are seeing riots? Our prisons have turned into our schools just 20 years later. I shudder to think that if we don't get a grip on prisons, schools, everything, this country is in for some remarkable times. But once again, I'm not criticising prison officers, prison governors. I'm not criticising teachers. You guys are doing a good job. You're doing it under tough circumstances and no backing up from a government that just feels that, and a system that just makes a rule on a rule on a rule without thinking the consequences of the action, without anyone wanting to stand up and take ownership for reforming the system. If you have anything or you want to come and talk about this, you can, and you can email me at terryd@realterrio.com. I want to thank you for tuning in to this podcast, and I hope you have a great day, and I will be back next week. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, please head over to iTunes, give us a rating, and leave a review.